This is going to be a review of my vintage Vostok Amphibia anti-magnetic model. These watches just offer amazing value, and they're definitely one of the best diving watches / tool watches you can get for the money. This one here is, like I said, it's an anti-magnetic model, and the case style is a 470/320, the 320 being the polished version and the 470 being the brushed. This one is the polished, so it's actually a 320 case. You're looking at about a 39 millimeter case diameter. The lug width is 18 millimeters on this, and the lug to lug is 46. So it's pretty good size. It's a little small for my taste, but it still wears pretty good. The movement here, this one is a 17 jewel hand wind 2409 movement, which that's just a great movement. If you look up Vostok movements, that's pretty much their go-to AK-47 type movement. It's just durable, easy to produce. They keep relatively good time. They're just a good solid movement. The width of this watch, you're looking at about 12.5 millimeters on the case thickness. It's fully stainless steel, so you have a stainless steel case, you have a stainless steel crown, and actually I believe this one has a stainless steel bezel. Just looking at it closely, it doesn't look like it's plated like most of them. Most of your Amphibias and Commanderskis are going to have chrome plated brass or bronze bezels, but this one to me looks like a stainless steel. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it sure looks like it. They offer 200-meter water resistance, which is really great. And Vostoks, they're known for their innovation on the case back as well as the crown and crystal seals. If you look at these, let me go ahead and get it out of the NATO here. But if you look at the case back here, you'll see a really cool, unique design. It's very innovative. If you look at it here, what you have is a ring going around and this plate here. The plate sits into two grooves on the top and bottom of the case, and there's a real nice rubber seal underneath that. So when it pushes down on it, this ring is what presses down onto that seal. But having that design like that prevents the seal from getting torqued. There's no shear on the seal, so it's just a press. That creates a really strong seal and prevents wear of that seal, so it's really innovative. They also have another design on how the crystal seals to the case, which is similar, but it also is pretty innovative. And then the crown is really cool too. A lot of people give Vostoks a lot of grief on the crown. If you look at it, when you pull it out, you can see how it wobbles there, but that's part of the design as well. When you screw in the crown, it actually disconnects from the stem. So that's what that wobble is there. There's like a little buffer. But when you screw it in, it uncouples from that stem, and that prevents, if you banged your crown real hard on something, it's not going to transfer that movement into the watch. It's pretty innovative as well. So that's not a design flaw. A lot of people say that. I don't know why. I mean, the Russians developed some really good stuff, so they would never design something like that. It's got a specific use, and that's why it's there. Speaking of the crystal's acrylic on these, so you don't get sapphire or mineral crystal or anything like that. It's a plastic. That can be a positive and a negative. I'll talk about that later. The bezel is bidirectional, just like pretty much all the Vostoks. So you can rotate it either way. You can see I'm rotating it left and right. This one is really stiff, so it's really hard to actuate, which is, I guess, a positive. It can be a negative too, because it's just hard to set. But once you do set it, it's not, this one for sure is definitely not going to move on you. On the actual dial here, if I can get it to focus, you can see down there along the bottom here, what that stands for is made in USSR. This particular watch was manufactured approximately in the early 80s sometime. I'm not 100% sure when that is, but sometime in the early 80s. The Vostok here, that's also Cyrillic. That's how Vostok is written in Cyrillic. So this is actually made for the Russian market. And then underneath that, that's also in Cyrillic, Russian Cyrillic, and that says anti-magnetic. The anti-magnetic is a little shield that's underneath the case here, which prevents magnetism from getting inside the movement. So that's pretty cool. Let me get the bezel reset here. As for the positives of this watch, one of the best things about these Vostoks is they just really are cool. I mean, they're really neat design. There's 1,000 different dials. You can get so many different case types. It's got a really vintage cool factor about it, and that's one of the best things about these things. Plus, I mean, they're so cheap. You can buy 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, 8 of them, without breaking your bank, and it's just really cool. They got a real collectible aspect about them. This one here I like because it's actually a hand wind, but I don't mind it being hand wound. It makes it more thin. Some of the autos on the Vostoks are really thick with that movement, and when they have the rotor, it domes out a lot on the back and makes the watch sit high. This one is 12.5 millimeters thick, so it sits flat, and I like that. This one also is fairly accurate for what it is. I usually average between 15 and 20 seconds a day with this, which is pretty good for a Vostok. Some of my other ones, I have like 3 or 4, average around 30 seconds or so, plus 30 seconds a day. So this one being 15 to 20, that's really good. It's very durable. They're shock resistant. I already mentioned the water resistance, which is 200 meters, so that's great. It's fully stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about corrosion. Just solidly built watch. It feels good. This feels like a solid watch for what it is. I like having the anti-magnetic, even though I don't know how useful that actually is, but I guess it's a positive. This one, like I mentioned, the bezel has really good resistance, which is good. So you set it and it's not going to move on you if you accidentally bump into something. That's great, because some of the other Vostoks I have, the bezel is too easy to move, and you set it and you might bump into something that's going to rotate, so that's not good. So this one, that's definitely a positive with this one. I also like the dial on this, having the white face and the black numerals. Very easy to read. Just quick glance, you know exactly what time it is. I really like that, so that's good. But the main thing with these is just the value. I mean, I paid around $60 for this on eBay with shipping, and you just can't beat that. I mean, for $60, this is just an awesome watch. I mean, a really, really great value. The negatives, I'll say the bezel on this one is just kind of hard to grip. You can see the kind of little coin etching there that they put on it. It's just not very deep, so it's you can move it, but it's definitely harder to grip than some of the other Vostoks that I've owned. So that can be a negative. The loom on this one, being a vintage piece, is really weak. I mean, it really doesn't even have any loom. You shine it with the light, it's going to fade in less than an hour. So that's definitely a negative. It's not the end of the world. It's not a deal breaker. It's just one of those things with vintage pieces. You're just not going to get good loom. The acrylic crystal can be a negative. It definitely can scratch easy. However, you can polish it out really easy with like a poly watch or some type of metal polish. That is a negative. It scratches, but you can polish it out fairly easily. To me, the 18 millimeter leg width's a little bit of a negative too. I would have preferred 20 or 22, but that is what it is. And then finally, there's no hacking. So what hacking means is when you pull the crown out to adjust the time, you'll see I'll do that here. You'll see the time continues to tick. So that is no hacking with this watch, so that's a negative. But overall, these watches are just really cool. The value is unbeatable. It's just a great watch for the money. If you haven't ever checked out the Vostoks, I definitely suggest you look into them. There's a ton of different models. There's the Amphibias, which what this is. There's also the Komodorskis. And they have some other stuff too that's interesting. You can pick up vintage pieces for under 30 bucks all day. You can get new ones shipped for around 50 to 75, depending on where you buy it from. But they're just a great watch. Just be careful that if you buy one, you're probably going to buy more in the future because they're kind of addictive. Anyways, thanks for watching this review.